All right, let's talk about some speeds. Maybe you're driving along at 60 miles per hour, or maybe you just shot an arrow or something, or a paintball, and it's going 300 feet per second. What are those things? Those are speeds. And what does speed mean? Well, speed has two parts. That's why there's two units here in each of these, feet per second and miles per hour. That means there's division going on. When you hear the word per, that's so many of one thing per so many of something else. What that means is that you're talking about a ratio. That's why there's division going on. So what you have here, miles and feet, those are distance units. And hours and seconds, those are time units. So whenever you have a speed, you're going to have a distance unit divided by a time unit. And that mathematically is a ratio. And ratio is a word that sometimes scares kids, but it really shouldn't. So let me use a common sense example here. Let's say we're going to go for a walk, and the distance we're going to walk is 6 miles. And let's say that the time it takes us is, let's say it takes us, I don't know, 2 hours. Let's say 2 hours to walk 6 miles. So what is our speed? Well, right now many of you are thinking, oh, well, if you're going 6 miles and it takes you 2 hours, your speed is blah. You already know in your head. You've just done the mental math. You know the answer. But let's look at it as an equation. Speed equals distance divided by time. Speed is a ratio of distance to time. So I'm just going to write the distance number on top. So I'm going to have 6 miles. And I'm going to have my time number and unit on the bottom. That's 2 hours. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. But 3 what? Well, I already told you that you've got a distance unit and a time unit, because think about this. Miles are different from hours, so they don't cancel out. So you're going to have both of those in your answer. 3 miles per hour is your answer. That's pretty simple. I'm going to use this same combination of numbers to do a different problem. Let's say that I know my speed is 3 miles per hour and my time is 2 hours. So if I'm walking at a speed of 3 miles per hour for 2 hours, I want to know how far I go. What is my distance? Once again, your common sense brain is already telling you the answer, but I want to prove it to you with this equation. Speed is distance over time. So this question is asking me for distance. So distance is on the top of that fraction. So I want to get rid of this divided t on the bottom because I want to get distance by itself. Well, how do you get rid of a divided t? Well, the opposite of division is multiplication. So if I multiply this side by t, or you could say t over 1 if you wanted to. I don't usually bother doing that. But if you multiply this side by t, then it cancels out. And you guys are old enough to know that if you do something to one side, you got to do it to both sides. So if you multiply this side by t, you got to multiply this side by t. So we wind up with a new equation. D equals s times t. Distance is speed times time. So now let's apply that to our problem over here. Distance is speed times time. And we've got 3 miles per hour times 2 hours. So now we can look at this and we can say, okay, all right, so we've got hours by itself and hours on the bottom. What does that mean? Well, if you wanted to pretend that there was a 1 under here, you could. But what it means is that the hours cancel out. They are gone. So 3 times 2 is 6, and since the hours canceled out, the answer is miles, 6 miles. Once again, you already knew that from common sense, but when you're doing other problems, it might not be that obvious to you, and you might actually have to do this little bit of algebra that we did here. Okay, and just to be thorough here, just for the heck of it, I'm going to have one more problem. I'm going to say that I know my speed is 3 miles per hour, and my distance is 6 miles. So I'm going for a walk at 3 miles per hour, and I'm going to go a distance of 6 miles. The question here, obviously, is going to be, how long does that take me? So what I need, and even though you probably know the answer, okay, you better know the answer because it's the same problem we already did over here, but how do I get t by itself to prove it mathematically? What I need to do then is I need to use my algebra. So if I've got t multiplied by s, I want t by itself. So how do you get rid of a multiplied s? You divide by s. That cancels it out. But whatever you do to one side, you got to do to both. So what we wind up with is t equals d over s. So now I can look at this problem right here and I can see what I get. I'm going to put the d on top. That's going to be 6 miles. And I'm going to put my speed on the bottom. That's 3 miles per hour. And 6 divided by 3, I'm going to have 2. 2 what? Well, I've got miles. Ooh, that's a bad color for that, isn't it? I've got 6 miles and 3 miles per hour. Well, you can see that what cancels out is the miles, so it should be hours. So if you go for a walk at 3 miles per hour and you go 6 miles, how long did it take you? It took you 2 hours. So you see how this equation gets swapped around. You can get any one of these three things by itself very easily. And if you've gotten as far as this quiz, you've already passed the manipulate an equation quiz, so this quiz will probably be a pretty fast one for you to pass.